PrintQuote Pro can have security measures put in place by creating users with passwords. This allows users to have access to specific areas within PrintQuote Pro. Being multi-user, PrintQuote Pro has the facility to have terminals in different areas within your printery, and you may wish to limit users to only have access to specific options within PrintQuote Pro. If you select Access from under the File menu, a message box will alert you to the fact you do not have any registered users in the system yet. When you select Modify Access from under the File menu, there aren't any registered users. You'll be asked if you wish to set up a user called Administrator. There must be an administrator, otherwise you cannot edit any of the passwords in the system, as they may have restrictions on access to certain areas of PrintQuote Pro. Click Yes, and the administrator user is set up with privileges that give complete access to areas of PrintQuote Pro. You'll be asked to provide a password for the administrator. You can click on the ellipsis button to convert that to written text so you can read it. Then once you've created and typed in your password, click OK. And when you click OK, the Modify Access dialog will open with the administrator added. To view the privileges, select the privilege on the Privileges drop-down menu and then select Modify. The privilege dialog box will open, displaying all the available privileges. The dialog has a list of all the areas within PrintQuote Pro that can have their access managed by the user password system. Access to all sections within PrintQuote Pro can be controlled. Typical set of users would be restricted for modifying the PrintQuote Pro preferences, and there would be users who can only access the schedule access sections of PrintQuote Pro. The privilege for the administrator, however, cannot be changed. The administrator needs to retain complete control of access to all PrintQuote Pro features. That is why when you open the administrator's privileges, the OK button is disabled. To add a user, enter the user's name and the password. And then click the Add button. We've now added user 1. To add a new set of privileges for user 1, we select Add Privilege. We give the privilege a name, and then we deselect those areas that we don't want user 1 to be able to access. So we'll move the preferences, data backup access, change data file access, and that'll do. Click OK to save that set of privileges for user 1. So now we have a set of privileges, and this new set of privileges can be assigned to more than one user. So we can add another user, user 2, we will add them, and then we can assign user 1's privileges to it. now we've assigned user 1 privileges, user 2 user 1 privileges. Now if we're going to add another user that only has access to a small area, we first add the user, and then we create a new set of privileges. And so we remove and we want the schedule window access and be able to view quotes and jobs but not change them. So we click OK, and then we click Modify to assign that to user 3. Every time a user logs onto PrintQuote Pro, the login date and time is recorded, and this can be exported by the administrator. Click the Export User Log button to create and save the user log details. And to delete existing log details, click the Delete User Log, and this will delete all user log details up to this point in time. Because we originally logged on as administrator, we now have access to be able to export the user log and delete the user log. So we'll export the user log. The path of where the log is saved is displayed, and then we can open the user log. A CSV file is created, and we're able to see who logged on, the date, start date, the finish date, and the time and the finish time for each login. To remove all users, first select users from the other than the administrator and click Delete. The administrator has to be the last user deleted. If there are any other users in the system, then you won't be able to delete the administrator. Then finally, we can delete the administrator. And all the privileges are removed as well. So there are no privileges and no users. If we have a number of users in the system and a person logs in with one user name and password, then another user might want to take over the program. So rather than quitting PrintQuote Pro and starting it up again and logging on again, we can change the user's access by choosing Access under the File menu. So now at the moment we're logged in as the administrator, so we just type in the other user and log in with their username and password, and their privileges will then be set up. So you don't have to quit PrintQuote Pro to change users.